Hey, Hourglass Podcast. The time is now.
Now or never, baby.
What you waiting on? The time is now.
What you waiting on?
She got a body like an hourglass.
Podcast.
Hello. This is the Hourglass Podcast. The time is now. I'm B-Lo, your host, and I got my main man with me, Rated R.
Rated R in the building.
There he is, cocked and loaded. And we got an excellent show for you all today because we got two special guests on here. Two. Let me introduce the first one right here, the lovely Miss Toneal Jackson. She's an international award-winning author. Let me choose some applause right here.
You better do something.
I got you right there. You gonna get something too. You gonna get some of them too.
Yeah.
There you go. Clap it on up.
Come on.
There you go, Miss Toneal. There you go. And let me introduce our second guest for today, Mr. Charles Dixon. He's a certified life coach and owner of Unique Perspective Love Talk Radio. Let's go.
You know what?
Wrong one. Let me get some applause over there for you, man. There we go.
All right.
There you go. All right, now you two. Now, I'm gonna start off you, Mister. How you doing today?
I'm good. It's been a long day. I've been in mommy mode all day, but I'm good. I'm here, ready to make it do what it do.
I'll make it do what it do.
Absolutely.
I like
Nothing
that.
wrong with mommy mode. That's good.
That's it. Always in
mommy mode, mommy duty. You know.
It sounds stressful to me, but
No. It's not necessarily stressful.
You got a little one. How old?
No. I got four. I got a 14, a 6. What is she? 16, 14, 16.
What is she?
17 and 20-year-old.
Got you.
So
Okay,
I got
20.
four. All girls.
Oh, wow.
all girls.
All girls, yeah. So we were doing the whole
Bless you.
college visit
Bless
day
you.
today with my second oldest. So
Okay,
yeah.
great. That's great. Okay, congratulations to her. Going
Thank
on
you.
college visit.
Thank
Definitely.
I know it's a struggle in that bathroom.
Man.
You got four bathrooms, right? You got four bathrooms.
That's a whole show by itself, okay? Like all of these, all these different personalities, man. That's a whole show.
Oh yeah.
Man,
Well,
definitely. Now, let's get on to Mr. Charles Dixon. How are you feeling tonight?
Yeah, I'm feeling great, man. I'm glad to be in part of this the Hourglass Podcast, ready to just get into it and co-mingle with the lady Toneal there. Her and I got some good radio history, so this is great, man.
Yeah.
that's what's
great.
up.
Radio
Yeah.
history.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Glad to
great.
have you, man. But glad to have you.
Great.
Likewise.
Yes, sir.
Thanks
Yes,
for
sir.
having me.
Great. Well, let me get on for the topic. Announce it for today. It's going to be, our topic for today going to be who, what, when, where, and we are our own solutions.
I like it.
We are our own solution.
Yeah.
Solutions.
Right.
With a capital S.
Yeah.
Now, before we really get started, can you tell everybody where you're from, Toneal?
I'm Southside of Chicago, born and raised. So.
Southside.
Absolutely.
Hey, man.
Chi-town, baby.
That's it. That's it.
Chicago. Okay, great. Mr. Dixon, Charles, where you from, sir?
So I'm from Washington, D.C. initially.
Okay.
I spent 8 years in Chicago, but I'm from Washington, D.C.
Okay. Do Chicago in there. Okay. Chicago.
Right.
Chi-town, the DC team. Right, it is right there.
That's Chocolate City, right? That's good. I like that. That's good. All right. Now.
Low Chocolate City.
Wow, definitely great. Glad to have you on here today on the Hourglass Podcast. The time is now. Let's get right on into it. Now, why we all here today is because of this right here. For the people right here that they don't know this book, she's an international award-winning author. The book is Being a Black Man is Harder Than You Think. With I Can't Breathe and Blood.
Yeah, that part.
That part. It's getting serious up in there.
Yeah.
So, what made you write the book?
Like the short answer was that I realized that the men needed something. Like, so I'm an author and I teach other people about writing. And so we were doing an anthology. My last cohort, we were working on an anthology and this was all women. And so one of the ladies actually had written her piece was talking about how depression looked on her husband. And then it was like, I just kind of got what I call my ooh-ooh-oohs. So I had this ooh-ooh-ooh. I'm like, we need to do something for the men, because honestly, you don't really hear a lot when we're talking about men and the struggle that they go through, what it's like being a Black man. And this was like coming off of the whole George Floyd situation, And so initially I'm like, so do I want to do another anthology? But then I'm like, that ain't gonna work because a lot of men may find writing either intimidating to do if they're not naturally authors, or a lot of the guys that I know, they're super duper busy. So to ask them to commit to writing, even if I had questions, to ask them to commit to writing all of that stuff and then submitting it back, I'm like, that's not going to happen. So that's why I decided to do a compilation where I basically just interviewed the 28 guys. But the whole heart of it was really just wanting to bring awareness to what's going on in the Black community.
Oh, great. So when you first started, like, what was the mindset? How did you prepare yourself to sit down with these 28 individuals to even ask them the questions?
Yeah. So first of all, I had to figure out what 28 men it was going to be, right? I knew that I wanted it to cover a variety of ages. So the ages in the book, they go from 30, the youngest is 30, the oldest is 70. And then the men are from like 12 or 13 different states, right? So I think I have everything except for West Coast. So I got like some South. So I got East Coast, and I got Midwest, and then I got like North Dakota is in there. So I got a lot of different mixture. And so that was the first thing, just trying to figure out who all I wanted to be in the book, what I want the demographics to look like. And because at the end of the day, I didn't know what the men were going to say. I just wanted to see. It was really like writing a book, wanting to know what they felt like. And what I found was that regardless of their ages, that everybody almost had the same story, simply because of the fact that they're Black men in America.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely what we found out, that we basically got the same story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When all
Absolutely.
boils
A lot
down
of the
to
same
it.
struggle. Yep.
Now I want to ask, like, when choosing those 28 individuals, how long of a period did it take to bring it all together?
Man, okay. So Charles was actually one of the original 28 that I had chosen. Okay. There were, I want to say it was 4 people that I had to swap out because our schedules just couldn't meet up. And the blessing about the pandemic was the fact that it kept people slowed down, right? Because everybody had to be in the house. And so this started, I want to say we started this in February of 21. So we were kind of getting off a pandemic, but we were still in the midst of it where everybody was not 100% back to work. And that, again, is the beauty of having it via Zoom, because everybody was used to doing stuff virtually. And so pretty much I just reached out to the different guys that I was thinking that I had in mind. And I'm like, hey, I got this project and I would really love to interview you for it, And the great thing, that what I'm grateful for, is just the fact that my reputation is positive to where it preceded me. And pretty much every guy that I call, they like, if you doing it, hands down, I want to be a part of it, And so I'm just so grateful for their yes. But yeah, that's what we did. We started in February. And then I want to say February through April, because initially I was saying I was just going to like interview like 4 people every month for 7 months. But then I'm like, no, because if this pandemic let up, and I know these dudes are all busy, so I better hurry up and try to interview as many of them as I can, And so by April, I had the bulk of them interviewed. And like I say, it was still like 4 people that I was waiting to solidify. And so we just ended up, I think we did like a couple random in July, then 1 or 2 in August. We finished up in November. So yeah.
Ooh, nice little journey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice
Yeah,
little
it took some time.
So, Brother Dixon, you with me?
Yes,
With
yes.
us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool. I got a quick question for you. When it was brought to you about the interview to help out with this book, what was your reaction? What's your first reaction?
Well, initially when she posed it to me, I thought to myself, okay, this is going to be some deep introspect. She's going to pose all of the things that we experience on the daily in our history and our life, and she's going to pose it into like a crash session. And so I got to be ready to just respond authentically. But I thought it was a powerful idea to do, because it is needed, and it was needed at that time. So for sure.
Yeah. I can see a lot of people actually enjoying the book. Enjoying the book, reading over it. Very helpful throughout the community with each other. So something is basically really, really needed. Something of this matter. So
And something else I thought was interesting about it is, let's just be honest. I think people are become kind of more interested in something where men are lending their voice, period.
Yeah.
Men don't really talk a lot. So you don't get to really hear what's really going on in their head, what's their struggle, their problem, specifically black men. So when you see something where that's on display, that should make everyone's ear perk up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But that's our secret. But that's
for sure. Yeah.
Understandable. So I want to talk about the cover itself.
Mm-hmm.
What's the message behind? And when you sent this cover out, what was the message behind it? With the blood, you got the handcuffs, you got the powder, and the jail.
Yeah.
So it's like when you made this cover, did you send it out to the individual? Or you had made this afterwards?
I did this because I'm a publisher.
No, I'm saying that you sent it like this is the cover. Like when you sent the 28 individuals, did you send them?
Oh, they didn't know the cover.
They didn't know the cover.
They didn't know the cover. Okay. All they knew, because for the longest time, I just called it the Black Man Project because I had no idea what the name of the book would be. Okay. I just knew that I wanted, because it started out where I'm like, okay, I want to do this book. But then I also knew that I wanted to do a documentary because I ended up doing a documentary with it. So the documentary came out first, and the documentary is called The Four Eyes of the Black Man. And so the eyes standing for identity, influence, impact, and insecurity. So those are the four things so it's kind of like extracted from the book, but those are the four topics that the documentary really touched upon. And so they just knew this was called the Black Man Project. They knew that it was going to be a book. They knew it was going to be a documentary. They knew that they had 28 questions to answer. They had no idea what the 28 questions were. They had no idea what parts of the interview that were going to be extracted. And that's why I say again, it was something for them to trust me, because nowadays you don't know how people are going to use your words. You know what I'm saying? And so they knew that they could trust that this would be a project that was of integrity, And so, but with the cover itself, they didn't know until it was done. They didn't see the cover for the documentary or the book until after it was totally done.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So, is there anything else that's in the book that you wanted to add, but you was like, maybe not now.
Yes.
Maybe for part 2.
Yes. Let me tell you something.
How did you struggle with it? Because somebody
struggles with.
A lot of writers struggle with should I, should not, maybe not right now. How did that come across? How did you get by that? Man, let me tell you something. It was a whole struggle, because this is what you have to understand. This is 28 men so the shortest interview was 39 minutes, right? The longest interview was a little over 3 hours, because again, 3 hours.
I'm trying to tell you, because I did not give them a time limit. I told them, I said, okay, I told them, I said, the time, I asked them for 2 hours. I said, can y'all give me 2 hours for the interview? I said, but you are not limited. So answer the questions however you're led to answer them. The only thing that I asked them to be totally honest and be transparent. And so, like, as the interviewer, I wanted to create an atmosphere where they felt comfortable being vulnerable, sharing their truth, right? No judgment, no criticism. Whatever the answers are is whatever the answers are. And so when you go back to transcribe all of that, like, it's a whole lot of stuff. And then you have to understand that this was being transcribed for 2 different purposes. One was for the documentary. So the documentary ended up being 90 minutes. So do you understand how much tape you had to go through to, like, pull bits and pieces for that, to make that happen? And then for the book, it was so much that was said. Like, honestly, this book could have been like this, it could have been 400 or 500 pages. I went back and forth with saying, do I want to make it a series? Did I want to do like a 7-part series? Because basically it's 7 sections for the book. So I'm like, do I want it to be like part 1 through 7? I thought about doing it as kind of like the equivalent of a docuseries within a book. I thought it was so many different ways I thought about being able to repurpose the content, but that was what the final project ended up being.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So now I got a question for you, Charles Dixon. Mr. Charles, I got a question.
All right.
Now, when you seen the book when it came out, how did you feel about that? Like, man, I'm in this book when I read it.
So I looked from that angle. I looked at it as, so basically she's the female. She this was her concept, right? And so I'm saying this is her capturing the black man experience in a conglomerate. She pretty much, like you said, you got the behind the bars, you got the drugs, you got all these things, the broken kind of, the bloodshed, all of these things kind of captured in one. It's like a boom effect, but it's really speaking our truth. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I took from it.
Oh,
okay, wow.
So, what was the reaction from the 28, including Mr. Charles? What was their reaction?
They loved it. And here's the thing. So again, you got to understand the documentary came out first. So I did a premiere here in Chicago, the 87th Street Theater. I rented that out, and it was what I call the Black Man Extravaganza. And so they were able to come out, and it was like a private screening of it, and we did a whole Q&A afterward. And for me, my whole thing was I wanted to make these guys proud, right? The fact that they trusted me with their truth, they trusted me with their time. And my whole thing was I wanted to do them proud because these men are all different types of stuff. I mean, you got pastors on here, you got principals, you got, almost every type of profession you can imagine is on here. And the fact I wanted to do them proud. And so when they saw the film, they all raved about it. When they got the book, they all were like so proud. And I mean, everybody was taking it to social media, and that made me happy. Like, even if nobody else got it, I wanted to make sure that they got it and that they were proud of being a part of it. So yeah.
They ain't think it was gonna be no black woman lashing.
No, they know me better than that. Like, because all of them know me in some regard.
They'll throw a curveball on you, Brother Dixon. They'll throw a curveball on you now. They'll throw one up in there. You looking for that fastball.
No, they
you looking for that
know.
fastball. It's a curve.
No, they know, and they knew my heart behind what I was trying to do. And all of these guys are stand-up guys in their own right? Like, they're all different professions. So it's not like this is all white collar or all, six-figure dudes. These are guys who, some of these guys had to be transformed. You know what I'm saying? Some of them been in jail. Because the point is that I needed to tell the full black man story, because I don't know who's going to read the book. And I don't want to seem like, oh, well, you got to be able to make six figures in order to... No, I wanted it to be somebody in that book to represent with any black man that would pick up the book, so that whoever you are, you could see yourself in it. And so that was really my heart behind it. And like I say, they all genuinely loved it.
Right. I just like the fact that how you use the black males. I use the males.
Yeah.
And then you...
It felt sincere, too.
Right.
It felt sincere. It felt like her initiative was sincere. Like I said, I know situations where I've been a part of a lot of things, right? So sometimes when you feel used, right?
Yeah.
Rather than feeling somebody sincerely trying to make a difference. So that's kind of, that was good.
Right. And then it could have just been like, for a female to write the book. What if she'd have just wrote the book herself outside of you all? Now they've been looked upon a little bit different. Like, now what she know about,
That's
man?
it.
Right. It would have had no depth to it, no dimension at all.
Yeah. So,
Right. So that was a smart point.
So it was a good one to actually interview the males and add your flavor and touch to it.
Yeah, and let me say this too. The whole thing, because even if you read the book, you can't tell that I wrote it. Like, I tell in the author's note, I give the vision behind it, but this is where my being an author comes into play, because really it was a ghost writing of 28 people's story. It is one long story. So literally I'm taking all of their words and stringing it together. So this isn't necessarily like you never, even in the questions, you never know that it's me saying this. This is all their words. This is all them. Like, I wanted to make sure that it stayed true to them, because one of the things that I even say in the book is how most of the time with most women, the only time that they're talking to a man is when it's about a relationship. Like, you know, if you're asking, well, why is she pretty? What are you looking for in a woman? You know, why did you get divorced? And they never really stop to actually talk to him, to actually know who he is. And so for me, it was, in order to know who he is, you got to know where he came from. So you got to start with the beginning, like the relationships and stuff. A lot of that is like byproducts of what he's come up against. And so, you know, you have to know what was his childhood like. You got to know what was the relationship like with his father, and, you know, the household that he grew up in. And so that was really what I wanted to do, was to draw a full picture of the Black man.
Okay.
That's really investing the time to get to know us.
Absolutely.
Because nobody really gets to know us like that.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, the Black man, all right, you know, we one of the most discriminated against race out here, the Black man.
Yeah.
You need to have you a class with a bunch of women. Okay, we just gonna have you a class with a bunch of women in there. We have to get this right out
But
here.
let me tell you about that. Like, I had a lot.
You gonna leave us?
I had a lot of my girlfriends though that were like, because they didn't get it, right? Because you have to have depth to get this book, because this isn't about, okay, they cute. This ain't about that. This is about understanding who the heart of a man. You understand what I'm saying? Because for me, beyond just understanding him, this is about trying to fix community. And we keep on saying, well, the Black man is missing in action, but why? And that's the question that we don't ever stop to ask. Is it because he don't want to be here? Or is there some reason that's prohibiting him from being here? And I'm just more of an idealist. So for me, my mentality is that I think it has to be a reason. It got to be something deeper than he's just trifling. I mean, we got some that are trifling, but to me, it got to be something more than that. So let's talk about it. And how can we really talk about it without talking to him?
Right.
And that's what getting into what the first part in your book is identity.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right there. To know thyself.
Absolutely.
To get into it. So I want to talk a little bit about that, the chapters that's in your book.
Okay.
And I wanted to touch on depression. Because there's a lot that we hold in as Black man.
Yep.
The mental stability of the Black man.
Yep.
It's like it's something that's not cherished. Like, it's like we got to just keep going all the time, and we don't have no one to speak out to talk to. Can you elaborate more on that, like your meaning behind the depression in your book?
Absolutely. So whether we're talking about pressure or depression,
right.
So with depression, what the general consensus after talking to all of these men was that many of them have suffered depression, right? So like, not every man in the book has, but the bulk of them has suffered depression to an extent. And one of the guys that's in there, the 70-year-old, he is somebody really big in the Kojic community, right? And so when I'm talking to him and he's sharing so candidly with me about the depression that he had undergone after having had a heart attack, and he had to have heart surgery and all of that. Wow. And he was saying how when after that, he was in the house for like 2 years, and he's a pastor, and he's like, I couldn't bring myself to come out. Like, and he went descriptively explaining how like he would have to write out what he had to say in order to deal with people. And so the point that I'm making is, a lot of times people look at you and they think that they can tell whether or not you're depressed just because you smiling or because you show up. And a lot of times you have no idea what people are feeling in their heart and what they're going through in their mind, you know? And so it is exactly like you said, a lot of times men go through and they carry all of this stuff because they are going by societal norms. So I'm the man. And because I'm the man, that means that I got to carry all this weight. Why? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so the other part to that is that a lot of the men, y'all are responsible for doing it to each other, because like a lot of times y'all going through stuff and y'all will make fun of, and again, this is what came out in the interviews, y'all will make fun of each other for complaining or wanting to talk about it, for not carrying the load. And so it's like, we got to find a safe space. There's so many different support systems for women, but it's like, there needs to be a support system for men without it being some type of stigma tied to it. Oh, well, he weak or he's soft or he's this. No, he's a person that has a lot of issues too. So he also needs an outlet, because at the end of the day, if the adage, and I say this in the book, if the adage that hurt people is true, then if he's walking around hurt, you wonder why domestic violence becomes an issue. Because at a point, he's going to lash out at somebody, whether it be physically, whether it be verbally. I'm not saying that it's right, but that's just, if you got a pressure cooker, they can only be under pressure for so long before they explode. And so you have to normalize the fact that mental health for men is also acceptable.
Right. Exactly.
Wow, that was a lot.
Yeah.
Wow, definitely.
But I would like to ask the both of you, how do you fix that? What is the steps to fix that?
I'm gonna let Charles go first with it since he's the black man. So let him
Brother
start.
Dixon, let's
Brother
get
Dixon.
So,
What you-
no, for me, I think it starts with, you got to have some honest conversations. And I think like, the old saying, how iron sharpens iron. I think most of us black men, we don't tend to look at our brother as that resource to kind of empty into or to take in part from. So what we do is we just sort of look at, if I came to someone and I was like, hey man, this is what's going on with me. Just like Toneal said, oh man, that's weak. What you talking about? I wasn't trying to hear all that. Man up. That's all we've heard all our life. Instead of just talking through them things to kind of identify in each other that sometimes we had the same struggles, same issues, or same different things, and there's growth in that if we can share and overcome those conversations together. And I think it has to start somewhere, because like you said, right now everybody is just taking their own lot, compartmentalizing their own way, and just doing life angry, compressed, a lot of pressure going on, depression, all sorts of things. They're living it out either through partying, drugs, women, all sorts of things, violence. All of those are expressions of an identity crisis. That's all that is.
Yeah, and I can just and to me, it also starts with questions. A lot of guys and young kids, they don't have the questions. They're afraid to ask a question. So it's okay to ask questions. And just be more open.
But see, even with that, what you just said, that becomes problematic amongst men too, right? Because, and again, this was brought out in the interviews, that for many men, asking question is a sign of weakness, because that's admitting that you don't know something, right? So a lot of times you will have men walking around in ignorance, and I simply mean that they don't know because they feel like that's what the expectation is. If I'm the man, then I have to act like I know, even if I don't know. And like you said, number one, you need to ask questions, but the other way to solve it, and here was the thing, it was almost split in terms of what the men thought of how do you fix it, because that was actually one of the questions. So it was like the older generation. So I would say those 40 on up, mid 40s on up, they were basically like, you can't fix it. You're not going to be able to fix it because we're the ones that kind of keep the problems going, because we're always teasing each other. So it would totally take us not doing that. And I don't think that that's going to happen because it's always been this way. But then you had the younger ones, the ones that's like 42 on down, who were like, the same way that you started it, you stop it. You teach the next generation that this isn't the way to go. And what I will say about like the millennials is that they're much more open to change. They're much more open to new ways, new ideas. And so I think that it is, and again, you're dealing with an idealist here. So I am a person that believes that change is always possible. It just takes someone to be willing to step up and implement the change.
Yes, and I want to add on to that as well, just to say, like, Brother Dixon, you probably can add on this too as well, is that I know I am I'm wrong to the fact sometimes too with saying the younger generation is, they soft, they more sensitive. We say 'cause we was raised a different type of way, because my parents up there, I'm up there in the mid 30s, so it's like, yeah, it's like I brought up differently, but it's not like you said they more open to change. So it's like it's just a difference to how the upbringing was, and it's a different time now.
Yeah.
And like you don't have the old school no more to sit down like you don't have those grandparents no more.
Yeah.
To tell them that the grandparents are getting the generation is getting older now. Getting younger now.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, to your point, if you are the brother generation, right? And if you're calling your younger brother a punk because he's crying, if you're calling him soft because he's showing emotion, then do you think that that's encouraging him to continue to show emotion or discouraging him? Do you think that that's showing him that it's okay to be human? Because at the end of the day, if I come and I stab all of us, we all gonna bleed. Y'all ain't gonna not bleed because you a man. You know what I'm saying? And so, but unfortunately, the way that men have kind of embraced the societal expectation is to mean that, okay, I can't cry, I can't show emotion. If I do this, then I'm weak. And the problem is that in many of male circles, that's exactly how they be perceived. So they're going to continue to act like everything is okay when it's not.
It's all about becoming educated. Yep, go on, Brother Dixon.
Right. And here's another real conversation that needs to be had. Half the reason why, like you said, like we would kind of see those guys like Rated R said. We see people be like, man, you being soft. But if we're being honest, in many cases, the reason they are soft is because we were absent, and the reason we were absent, so there was a gap in that transfer of fatherhood values, teaching them all these things, and so as a result, they had to either prove from who was there, whether it was mama and and her energy, or if it was the street or whatever. And so although some of us now have been reformed and conformed to different ways of life and living, we still have to acknowledge that in many cases, there was a gap. Like when many of us was doing us and chasing this and chasing this person or doing all these things that we were into as men, those families and kids that we left behind, they had to pay the price, specifically the males. So that's why nowadays, if you look at how these young males are moving, they are relentless. Like it almost makes you think they're godless. Like they don't care. They will drop you in a minute with that iron, right?
Oh, yeah,
they come out here and it's like they have a whole different mindset. Like back in our day, I'm not gonna say we didn't fight and do vicious things too, but it was different. I mean, because really you could just beat somebody up and kind of have a reputation based off of that, right? But nowadays it's just no, we ending you. I mean, it's just a whole different. Yeah. It's just amazing to me when I hear these certain reports from different things on the news, and I just be like, wow, man, it's wicked. And even myself, man, haven't even lost my own son 2 years ago to the violence. So I understand deeply how this whole. Oh no, that's cool, man. I understand deeply how this whole thing is, and so my heart honestly goes in a total different space when I see all of this stuff. And so when this came up and when Jesse brought this up and Toneal brought the book idea, I was all for it because to me, I'm like, the help has to start some way if we're going to heal as men. And the other thing I will also say is nowadays, I look on social media and I've never seen a time now where more men are talking on social media. Like once upon a time, you always had women they're gonna get on there and say whatever. They at a party, they out, you have no problem getting the women to talk. But nowadays you see so many men talking about their feelings. But what's happening, the reason why they're talking about their feelings is because now the women are just moving in an entirely different space. Like the women, they out here, like you said, they're getting all these operations. Everybody's becoming their own personal goddess, right? And it's changing the energy. It's changing the entire energy. And the men are like, wait a minute, I need her to stay home and don't do this, that, and the other. And the women are like, no, we going out as girls trip, we hanging out. And so a lot of the men can't handle it. And so what's happening is there was a time when we did whatever, however, and we didn't really have no regrets or remorse on how we was doing things. And so now it appears that the culture chickens have came home to roost. And so now there's a different shift and the men are taking the brunt of it. It's like, wow, like what's happening? But what's happening was, like we're reaping a lot of what we have sown years beforehand. You know what I'm saying? So now these things are coming to pass. And so it's going to take a conversation. It's going to take a real table conversation to get some atonement to even begin to shift. Like we have to have a conversation with the women. We have to have a conversation with the youth. And there needs to be some apologies and some shifting to even get this thing started to be better. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So some of the stuff that's out here, a lot of stuff is out here with the activities with the young, all the violence that you hear and you see, mainly that comes from no fear. See, a human with no fear allowed him to do anything.
Thank you for listening to the Hourglass Podcast. The time is now. Shoot us an email at info@hourglasspodcasting.com to submit questions and to become a future guest. It's our time. Now, let's make the best of it.
Brought to you by GTB Medical Services, touching lives one device at a time.
Classy Image Barbershop, Chicago, Illinois. Get there.